Football's getting close, and we need to talk to the quarterback. John Fourcade makes his return to the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, and man, we couldn't be much more thrilled.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everydayers? I'm Stephen Willis. Welcome back to Locked On Ole Miss. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The biggest stage in world soccer is here. Let there be goals on FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com to get started today. All right, so SEC Media Days. Ole Miss will be on the podium about a week from today, somewhere around that. And we need to talk with John Fourcade going into the season. I know we're a little early. Normally, they don't come in until closer to the season. I figured this year, though, we need to bring them back in. So we talked to John Fourcade, the quarterback. John, after you've had a little chance to marinate over what happened in December and January with this football team, the game Miami and all of that, where kind of are you right now? It's kind of good to see all that blood, all that sweat that you went through kind of pay off on a playoff run.
Man, I was excited. It's no different than mostly all the other Ole Miss fans, former players, alumni. We were all excited about it, and that's something that hasn't happened since the 60s. And I didn't want it to end, but, it's over and done with. And then all the other stuff that happened after that, it's gone. And like I told you before we get started, let's just go play football now. You got to go put your guys out there and let's go see what the Rebels have this year. And they're going to have a lot of different people playing this year. Now you got a full coach who's only been there for a couple of weeks coaching the playoff games. Now he's got a full season getting ready to roll. I'm so excited about it. I'm looking forward to it, that Louisville game. It's not going to be an easy one, but they're at home. Where are they playing that game?
Nashville.
It's in Nashville because I thought about going to it, but I didn't think it was there. But, it's a little bit of a way to go. But, look, you got to start the season somehow. And this another thing, Stephen, is that there's no longer, two easy games. You got to play two easy games, and the rest of them, all 8 got to be some serious football. So, week in and week out now, you better win. You better do something if you want to get back to that playoff run.
Yeah, I tell people all the time that in the SEC, there's only 3 teams that are playing games in week 1 that they can lose, and Ole Miss is one of them. Right. Louisville, Jeff Brom, a really good football coach. Heck, the Purdue Boilermakers got the nickname the Spoiler Makers because of his ability to pull off upsets, and they beat Miami a year ago.
Right.
So that kind of lets you know where they are. So what do you think about going into this football season? What are you going to be paying attention to? I know it's year 2 of Trinidad. What kind of a jump does year 2 usually make for a quarterback inside of a system?
Well, they would always say, year 2 is your sophomore year, but the kid's been around, I think, since I was a child. He's been playing for so long. He's played different football divisions, and he's capable of doing things that, that are professionalized. So let's just say this. I'm not worried about Trinidad. I think it's got to be now. It's the surrounding cast of him. Because, look, they lost some players. We know that. They got a core of players coming back, but not quite the core of players they had where they were starters and they would put numbers up. So he has to click with these new guys. The O-line's got to come through. But we got to talk about the new offensive coordinator. All right, we knew what they had last year with Lane and then the Weiss guy. Now this year you got a new offensive coordinator coming in who's got experience, has been around. It's not like he's coming in with a quarterback who's a rookie. So this should gel for them. It's all about the other players around him. Now, he can't control the defensive side of football, but what he can do offensively is don't put all the pressure on yourself, because Trinidad – you go down, they're going to be a little bit of trouble because you got to go with a backup guy. So play smart, but play yourself like you've been playing. So I am not worried about Trinidad. I'm just worried about everything around him.
Yeah, one thing that's going to be interesting, because this schedule is absolutely at a different level from what we have seen in the past and what Ole Miss had a year ago. The difficulty of it, the 9th SEC game. what type of a deal do you think, how important it will be to have that 9th SEC game, and how much more difficult things are going to be?
Well, it helps you in an essence of you win it. Everybody said, okay, you took care of your business in the conference, because you know as well as I do, I don't care what the Big Ten say, the Big 12, the ACC. You can't go through the SEC week in and week out, play 9 games, and expect not to get beaten up. Some things go wrong for you, some things go right. It's a brutal, treacherous run with 9 games compared to the 8 games, because you're playing who? SEC style football. You go to some of these Big Tens and you're playing 5 weeks of good opponents. You're not playing 9. You got your lower end opponents in the Big Ten and in the ACC. Hell, they couldn't even win in the Big 12. So you're playing major league professional football, but it's in the SEC. So Ole Miss week in and week out, and I'm glad they do. They were smart by not having all their 9 big games up front. Now, it's good to have a couple of them, but then it's great to have maybe in the middle of the season you slide that easy one in there, which we know which easy game that is, Wolford. So we're going to just say this. You got to come in and play every doggone game. It's going to be a battle. All SEC, not just the Rebels. Everybody else in the SEC has to add that one more game, and we're going to find out, down the road what happens. That's why you could possibly see, Stephen, 3-loss SEC team getting in the playoffs because of the fact that you're playing a tougher schedule.
Yeah, my actual prediction, like whenever we gave our W's and L's and went through the schedule, I have them at 9-3, but I also have them in the playoffs, because I do think that there's going to be a baseline of the number of SEC teams that get in. It's not going to necessarily be about the number, I don't think.
Well, you got to remember now, all the whining and complaining about everybody else, but you got to look. If you got, say, 4 teams at 9-3 in the SEC, and they don't take them in there over a 3-loss team from the ACC or the Big 12, I don't know what they're seeing and thinking. Now, they're going to be a lot of whining and complaining. And you got Notre Dame out there playing, nobody, and they're not in the conference, so they're automatically in, from what I heard, and so. That's the situation, but you get 4 9-3 teams in the SEC, you can book they're in the playoffs.
All right, so everydayers, when you watch this, what do you think? What do you think the magic number is for making the playoffs? Put that down in the comment section below, and we'll see what's up there. And also, I do want to say thanks again for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. This 9th SEC game, what do you think it will matter? We're going to look at some of the players of this season that maybe have a chance to stand out that we're not quite thinking about right now. We're talking with the quarterback, John Fourcade, and when we come back, we will get into it more. Hey, this episode is sponsored by FanDuel. On the biggest stage in the world, FanDuel is changing the game, because sometimes your player gets subbed off and your bet goes with them. Not anymore. With FanDuel Super Sub, if your player is subbed out, your bet stays in. That's right. If your player leaves the match, your bet continues on with the substitute. So you're still in it until the final whistle. In matches like these, anything can happen, and now you can let your bet go the distance. Let there be goals this summer with FanDuel, because there's nothing worse than having a great pick going and watching your player get subbed off in the 60th minute. With Super Sub, that does not die. It goes the distance with the sub. Let there be goals this summer with FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/LOCKEDON to get started today. Hey, do us a favor, like, subscribe, or comment on the video. Subscribe to the podcast on whichever audio podcatcher you're listening to, and give it a 5-star review. It costs absolutely nothing, but keeps all of this free. And get your daily Ole Miss fix completely ad-free by joining the Everydayer Club today. Start your 7-day free trial right now and get closer to your team without all of the interruptions. Click the link in the show notes below, or go to lockedonolemess.supercast.com to claim your free trial. No, that we're going to change, just so everybody knows, we're getting rid of the subtext program and we're going to start moving people over to Discord. So you can see we're going to do like the 3 things that's standing out, and you'll have Dalen Flowers, Corey Burton, and Mike Huseman on the Everydayer Club available to you as well. So that would be pretty interesting. All right. So John, one thing that's interesting for me going into this season, listen, one of the things I do is I cover the Under Armour All-American game every single year. I think I'm 5 years in at this point in a row. And 2 times I've walked out of Under Armour All-American Day practices and had my jaw down. One was Zach Branch, the Georgia wide receiver, just absolutely electric. The other guy was Jonte Cook. And we know that he had a weird route to get to Ole Miss, but he's there now and he has all kinds of talent. And he's my guy that I think has a chance to be the plus wide receiver, even over Deuce Alexander. So I like Cook and Alexander. Who are the players that you are probably thinking about that nobody else might be thinking about that could break out this season?
You know, Stephen, to be honest with you, the roster is a lot newer than it was in the past. I don't know all the players quite well in what position, but you do know about Cook and Alexander because that's the 2 names that people have been talking about, and like you just said, that watching one in the Under Armour and finally getting to Ole Miss. Look, I don't know. I'm like you. I think you got to play a couple of games before we even decide, because I don't know all the players, personally, and seeing them. I'm going to go up there and watch them before the season begins in a couple of the practices. But I'll say this: whoever they throwing the ball to, just catch it, because that's important. Whoever's getting the opportunity, because they're all going to get their opportunities. There's no doubt, because this team right here, in the way they've done it in the past, you need 4 receivers. You know that well as I do. And the thing that I know they better have is if they can get a tight end that can play like if they have in the last couple. I mean, Ole Miss has put some tight ends out there, in the NFL. And if you can keep doing that, that's a key factor, because college football teams can't cover tight ends. They can cover wide receiver because the cornerbacks can do that. But you put a slot guy who's 6'3", 240, who can run like a rabbit, and he's / tight end wide receiver, they're hard to cover. So the Ole Miss Rebels need to use that. Now, the running game has got to be important this year. I know that the Rebels haven't been great in the running game like we like them on a consistent basis, because everybody's talking about, they throw the ball, they did this, Dart threw the ball. Now you got Trinidad throwing the ball. So on and on and on. I think the last time we had a running game was back when John Fourcade was playing, because all I did was run and veer. So you don't see that much anymore. But look, I just think with the Rebels, I don't think it matters who's lining up playing wide receivers. It matters if they're catching the football.
Yeah, one thing I think it will be interesting, because Kewan Lacy and Mekhi Frazier, the backup running back, the one problem that Ole Miss, I think, had last year was when Kewan Lacy had his hamstring issue against Miami. It was basically 2 quarters of what do you do then? There was not going to be any running back. There, you're going to throw the ball. Now, the success that Ole Miss had was pretty cool in that situation, but Ole Miss didn't have a backup running back for whatever reason. Logan Diggs performed a role and made a couple of plays, but he wasn't just in there.
Right.
I'm curious to see with the collective and Pete Golding and all those guys, they seem to go all in when it comes to running backs, and got about 3 or 4 of them. And I'm trying to see if one of those guys work out, because that may be an underrated part of this team this year.
Well, you made a comment they have 3 or 4. 3 or 4 of them aren't playing. Mm-hmm. It's supposed to going to be 2. If you got a third guy go in there, that's just to relieve a guy for a player or 2. But you can get 2 running backs that can perform, who can run the best or who can catch the best. They got to be on the field. If you start rotating them, that's great. If you want to rotate them and you're getting the same out of both of them, no problem. But if you're rotating like last year, when Diggs got in there, he got, like you said, he had a couple plays here and there, but he wasn't consistent. Like Lacy was, you could count on him, but then he got the injury. And all running backs are going to get hurt. I hate to say it, but they are. And you got to have another guy step in, and maybe that third guy's got to be right there ready to go. But if he's got 4 running backs that he's happy with, then he better have 2 that he's extremely awesome happy with. And I just think that's going to be a big key there to take a lot of, because you don't need Trinidad running as much. And Trinidad's not going. He can surprise you with his running, but do not think he's going to be the RG3 of the world and stuff. It's times have changed. They want you to run 5 or 6 times a game. That's better than running 12 or 14 times a game.
So Ole Miss is actually running joint Heisman campaigns for Kewan Lacy and Trinidad Chambliss. It's true. And Trinidad has like the 3rd best odds to win that trophy going into the season. So it is legitimate. One's a Doak Walker candidate. But it's a situation to where, to me, it feels like if Trinidad was by himself and he had a big year, he would have a better opportunity than having somebody else that could be really good at the same time. I don't think that Trinidad can win it because those two are going to cancel each other out.
Yeah, that's the only problem. And when you told me that they're having, dual Heisman Trophy, platform, you can't do that. You got to have one because you are taking away from the other one. If it comes to some people, oh man, I love the running back at Ole Miss, and that's gonna pull what they would say. Well, no, I want to give it to Trinidad. I can't because I'm gonna give it to the running back. And you're right. You can't have 2 guys on the same team fighting for the Heisman Trophy. It's got to be one guy or the other. But that they don't do the Heisman Trophy until probably the last part of the season. So
yeah, that's
one of them is going to probably fall off, and depending on if I had a bet. I bet Trinidad's going to be the one that's going to have an opportunity to win that Heisman.
Yeah, if Ole Miss wins 10 games this season, if they just go 10-2, I think Trinidad has as good a shot as anybody to win that trophy.
I mean, look in the nation. I don't think Moore and Oregon's all that. I mean, they want about it. It's competition that he plays against. The kid at Ohio State, they don't use him as much as that football club does. I don't know many other quarterbacks. The LSU quarterback, I don't know what's going on with him. He's got a couple of injuries here or there. But, if Trinidad stays healthy and the Rebels win 9-10 games, I think he's going to be in the hunt.
All right, so real question, everydayers. Which Ole Miss player should Ole Miss be trying to promote for the Heisman Trophy? Who has the best shot? Put it in the comment section below. And remember, everydayers, we're free and available on all the podcast apps and on YouTube. So a special hello to our everydayers who make this show what it is, your team every day. When we come back, we will talk to the quarterback, John Fourcade, about SEC Media Days, about a week away from the ceremonial start of college football. That's coming up later and coming up next. All right, welcome back, everydayers, to Locked On Ole Miss. SEC Media Days about a week away. Pete Golding's first trip into Media Days. Obviously, Kewan Lacy, Trinidad Chambliss, and Will Eccles will be basically in the fold and getting interviewed. The Ole Miss has the best roster of anybody that is going. So, John, what are you looking forward to from Media Days? It might not be from a player. It might not be from Pete. But what's the one thing that you're actually curious about going into this?
Well, I think the thing, if you're going to talk about the Ole Miss players, that's going to get interviewed, and they will get a lot of them interviewed. I think a lot more people are going to interview and want to hear what Goldings have to say. And Pete's going to have his time on the stage. But these guys need to present themselves when they get there, and they're going to be hit with some questions. And I just hope it's not the Lane Kiffin questions. Leave that alone. Let these kids play football, talk to them about each one of them, what they –
Okay. John froze up a little bit talking about that. And he's right about that.
They're going to talk about the SEC opponent, especially they're going to say, well, now you got to play that extra game. Mm-hmm. Oh, I want to curiously hear what they have to say. I know you and I talk about, well, what are they thinking about having to play? I mean, to me, I line up and play against whoever they're going to put me up against. I didn't care. It just happens you're going to play another SEC team over playing, Middle Tennessee. I mean, who cares? You got to still play the game. Just win the game, baby. So I think they'll go down there and they'll get some questions thrown at them in regards to the SEC scheduling. You lost a lot of players from last year's roster. Who you think could fill those, and what's the scenario going through there? So I think they'll handle it just fine. I mean, those are guys. Lacy and Trinidad, they've been in a spotlight before. They've been interviewed before. So this should be a cupcake. Is it still in Destin? Or is it Nashville?
It's in Tampa.
Oh, it's in Tampa. Oh, right there in your backyard.
I'm going to get to go.
There you go. Then ask some questions, and you'll find out the answers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm sitting here. What I'm hoping for from Ole Miss, when they inevitably get the Lane Kiffin questions or the buyout questions or anything like that, they just say they're handling all that.
Right.
We are focused on Louisville, September 6th. That's going to be a big game. I genuinely want them to be calm and everything going on there, because they have a real chance this year to be really good. The only thing that could really derail it is if their attention is not where it needs to be.
Right. That's the whole thing is how Ole Miss is going to present themselves. And my buddy's coming up, big LSU guy who does the podcast with me and radio. He's an LSU guy. He owns the restaurants, but it's diehard. And he goes, I'm coming up to the game. He says, John, the only thing I fear is that you might need National Guard up there. You might need the military to, surround the stadium, this, that, and the other. Why? I mean, it's, Lane, so what? Lane ain't playing the game. The game is played by Trinidad and Lacy and the other rebels out there, and the coaches on the field do their job. The heck with all the sideshow. And that's why everything leading up to each ball game, I believe it's going to be that. If these guys say, look, it's about Louisville. And then when that's done, it's about the next game. When that's done, it's the next. When you get to LSU and Lane Kiffin, please, hope they're both undefeated or whatever. Have a great game. I'm a little dejected about game day wanted to be there. And the excuse that Carter gave of that's BS. You should have had it. You need all the excitement. Nothing's going to happen. You're going to they got fights and they get rowdy in the stands. They do the same thing in the Grove. So who cares? But on the football field, there's nothing going to happen on the game. They're both going to go out there and play it. And we got to get past that so everybody can get over it. It's over and done with. And that's why when you go to the media day, these kids that go to media day don't need to have that distraction. Just go and, like you said, hey, you want to talk about Lane Kiffin? Talk to the head coach, talk, the AD or whatever. You want to talk football? I'm here to talk about my position, the team, and what needs to go forward. I think you'll get that from these guys. These guys are well equipped. They've been around long enough, and I think they'll handle media day just fine.
Yeah, it should be pretty interesting. So what do you got going on, John?
Well, I'm going to head to Las Vegas on the 23rd through the 30th. I got the Hot Works convention, got a little speaking there. Then I come back and my buddy who owns Hot Works getting married on August the 7th. My niece gets married August the 14th. And then I'm going to rest up to have my 40th surgery. I got to have left shoulder rotator cuff surgery on August 28th. But I'm going to go up to Ole Miss between the 20th and the 28th. I'm going to take a little trip up there so I can watch a little practice, chat with Pete, just kind of talk, pick their brains a little bit. So when I come back home to do my shows, I'll have some knowledge of what they're getting ready for in the Louisville game. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to you and me working this upcoming season, see if we can get back to the playoff again. So I'm just going to rest up for my 40th surgery, and we'll go from there.
Well, best of luck on the 40th surgery. That's absolutely, I don't even know if that's a milestone or what. I almost want to say congratulations at that point.
I was getting ready to say, when you start announcing, hey, I'm getting ready to have my 40th surgery. Your 40th anniversary, your 40th birthday. No, I'm getting my 40th surgery. So that's what my doctor told me today. He goes, John, you've had so many surgeries. That's why everything else is breaking down, because you've had enough surgeries. But that's part of the game. I would never say I wouldn't do it again. So I would do it again. Love it.
All right, John. Thank you very much for stopping by, and we'll talk to you again, buddy.
All right, Steven. Y'all be safe. Take care.
All right. All right. Here's the deal, everydayers, SEC Media Days. What are the things that you are looking for from Ole Miss to happen? Put those down in the comment section below. And before you go, give me your predictions of SEC Media Days as well. And as always, tell me what's going on, because you're usually ahead of the national media on this type of stuff. You're not the smartest audience in all of ball for no reason. So today we talked with the legend, John Fourcade, getting ready for the football season. He's also getting ready for his 40th surgery. That is interesting. Best of luck to him. And if you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On Ole Miss ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more. Head to lockedonolemmiss.supercast.com to join the club. For those of you on video, we're going to send you on over to the first ever Locked On 24/7 channel, and head to find a second list, either Locked On SEC or Locked On College Football, for your second audio listen as well. Subscribe, hit the bell, drop a comment, and we will see you tomorrow, everybody. Hotty toddy, y'all.